If you work in finance, or really any industry, with heavy regulation, you're probably feeling this shift we're tracking today. It's pretty fundamental. We're moving out of what you could call the automation era, basic RPA, and into the true autonomy era of Gen AI.
That's right. And there's this core tension at the heart of it all.
Okay, so let's unpack that.
Well, the source material we're looking at lays out two major and pretty different strategies. On one side, you have Accenture and OpenAI, and on the other, HSBC with Mistral AI.
And this really gets to the heart of the trade-offs everyone is facing right now.
Exactly. This is our deep dive into those two paths.
And the technology that's powering all this is the AI agent. I think it's important to be clear here. This is not just a chatbot that writes content anymore.
Not at all. An AI agent is more like a digital employee. It can perceive things, it can plan across multiple steps, and it can actually use other tools like APIs to get complex jobs done.
So let's start with that first model then, the capability-first approach.
Right, Accenture and OpenAI, their whole strategy is to use the most powerful, top-tier model they can get their hands on to completely reinvent how work gets done.
And what's really interesting is how they're deploying it. They're not just selling a product.
No, they're using their own massive workforce as the guinea pig, basically. They call themselves Client Zero.
Client Zero. So they're building all that expertise in-house first. It's a bet on pure scale and speed.
It is. But that brings up a huge question.
What happens when you can't make that bet? When regulations like GDPR or strict banking rules just say no.
And that takes us straight to the other model, HSBC and Mistral AI. This is what you'd call the sovereignty-first strategy.
Because their hands are tied by regulation.
Precisely. HSBC has to prioritize private self-hosting of these models. They use open-weight models, in this case from Mistral AI.
Open weight meaning they can actually see the code and, more importantly, run it themselves.
Yes. The model runs entirely inside the bank's firewall. That means sensitive client data never, ever leaves. They have total ownership, which slashes their regulatory risk.
Okay, but here's the trade-off, right? If you lock everything down that tightly, are you giving up on performance? I mean, are these Mistral models really powerful enough?
That is the trade-off, but for the kind of task we're talking about in finance, the data suggests the gains are still immense.
And this is where it gets really interesting.
Yes, the quantitative impact. We're seeing reports that these AI agents have improved the speed of the monthly financial close by 30%.
30%, just on the close. That's enormous. That completely changes the game for a CFO.
It's not just that. Financial forecasting accuracy is jumping by anywhere from 20% to 50%.
So how does this agentic architecture actually deliver that kind of speed? What is it physically doing?
It's enabling something called continuous accounting. So think about the whole record to report or R2R process.
Right, from the moment a transaction happens all the way to filing the final report.
Exactly. The AI agent just takes over those high-volume manual tasks. For example, it can use pattern recognition to calculate really precise predictive accruals.
So it's estimating future costs before an invoice even shows up.
You got it. That cuts down on all that human waiting time at the end of the month.
Yeah.
It turns a clunky monthly process into a real-time data stream.
So if the process is changing this much, what does it mean for the people, for the finance teams? It's clear these roles aren't just disappearing.
No, they're being augmented. But it does demand a whole new set of skills, what we're calling fusion skills. You have to be able to work with the AI.
Fusion skills. Okay, so what are they?
Well, the first is intelligent interrogation. That's the ability to translate a really complex business problem into a clear set of instructions for the AI agent.
So it's not just typing a question. It's like being a master delegator to a very powerful, very literal assistant.
Perfectly put. And the second, which might be even more important, is judgment integration.
The human in the loop.
Exactly. The AI is fast, but it doesn't have commercial savvy or, ethical context. That's where the human has to step in and provide that crucial judgment to make sure the AI's recommendation actually makes sense for the business long term.
So this deep dive really lays out two very clear paths for you. You can go for OpenAI's raw scale and capability, or you can prioritize Mistral's security and sovereignty.
And it's not just a tech upgrade.
No, it's a deep structural change. Your core business outcomes, things like cash flow and forecasting, are now directly tied to whichever AI strategy you choose.
And that brings us back to judgment integration and maybe the biggest question of all.
Go on.
As AI moves from being a co-pilot to more of an autopilot for these tasks, What is that non-financial context? Things like long-term client relationships or team morale that humans must always have the power to override, even when all the data points in the other direction.
That's the ultimate challenge, isn't it? Knowing when to trust the human gut over the machine.
That context. That's probably the most valuable human asset left.